This is gonna be a very serious video. Talking about Floyd. You know, I'm making the case that Floyd Mayweather may be the biggest bitch in the sport of boxing, and he might be the biggest hypocrite and the biggest ducker of all time. Now let's dissect his resume real quick, and let's look at who he fought throughout his career. Let's ignore all of these fights. These guys are bumps. Okay, that's not a wall tap. Okay, when he fought Gennaro Hernandez in 1998, Gennaro Hernandez was not the best featherweight, the best super featherweight at that time. He should have fought Costazu, Casamayor. I don't know why he didn't fight Casamayor or Costazu. He ducked Casamayor. He ducked Costazu. And then his next biggest victory was against Diego Corrales. But Diego Corrales was draining himself to make that weight. I mean, he couldn't make super featherweight if his life depended on him. That made him really, really weak leading up to the fight. That was his best win up until that point. And then he fought Angel Manfredi. That's another bum. Carlos Rios, Justin Juco. All these guys are bums. Emmanuel Augustus had double-digit losses. Diego Corrales, I mean, he was good, but he was weight drained. The same goes for Canelo. Canelo was actually fighting out a catchweight. I guess you could call Floyd Mayweather the catchweight king because he always used to make fighters suck down, like make themselves not rehydrate to the normal weight because he would put a rehydration clause in the contract also. Not just a rehydration clause. There would be hold on. Not just a rehydration clause though. He wouldn't just put a rehydration clause on the fighters that he's fighting. He would also make them fight below the weight that they're supposed to fight at for the title. So when Canelo was fighting Floyd at light middleweight has a limit of 154 pounds. But Floyd said to Canelo, no, you can't fight at 154. You have to fight at 152. And those 2 pounds, you guys probably don't think it's a lot because you guys are not boxers. But those 2 pounds, losing those extra 2 pounds is going to drain the fuck out of you. It's going to really take a lot out of you for the fight. Marcos Maidana. When he fought Maidana, Maidana was a good opponent. He just beat Adrian Broner. Okay. But Maidana, you could easily outbox that dude. Like he wasn't a tough opponent for Floyd because Floyd, he's been fighting flat-footed Hispanic fighters his whole entire career. So it's not something that's new to Floyd. Floyd's been doing this his whole career, and he made the fight closer than he should have when he was fighting Maidana. He could have beat him easily 8-4, but he decided to beat him 7-5. And then in the second fight, he beat him easily 8-4. He didn't fight the same fight for the second fight. He used a lot more movement and feints. He stayed off the ropes a lot more in the second fight. But for the first fight, I guess he wanted to give us a little bit of entertainment. Now, with the Oscar De La Hoya fight, we all know he flat out lost that fight, 7 rounds to 5. And Oscar was at the tail end of his career. He wasn't the best anymore. He wasn't the golden boy that we've always known. Like he wasn't like even if we look at the point of when he fought Floyd. I mean, when he fought Floyd here, and he just had a one win, and he lost to Bernard Hopkins in the previous fight. So he got knocked out by Bernard Hopkins. He wasn't even on a streak. He was losing. So he wasn't fighting often. He was addicted to drugs, alcohol. He wasn't taking boxing seriously. The Miguel Cotto fight. Miguel Cotto is a tough opponent, very good opponent for Floyd. But the thing about Cotto is, he had just been brutalized by Antonio Margarito, right? When he fought Floyd, I believe. Where did he fight? He fought Floyd here, and he fought Antonio Margarito here. And he fought him. He just beat Antonio Margarito. Yes, he did. But why did Floyd fight him after Pacquiao? Pacquiao already destroyed him, and then Floyd beat him again. And Floyd actually had a tough fight with Miguel Cotto. It wasn't easy. It was a very, very tough, grueling fight, which is what we're expecting. But And then he fights Andre Berto. He fights Andre Berto, but Berto isn't a good opponent. You guys are telling me Berto is a good opponent? I mean, he was a former world champion, but at that time, was he the champ? No, he wasn't. He didn't hold the champ. He didn't hold the title when he held the interim title, but he didn't win. Dude, he beat Josito Lopez and Steve Upshirt Chambers. He was a former world champion, but he never defended the belt. You know, he defended the WBC belt, so that's good. But he wasn't a tough, top opponent. He was a solid opponent, but not. He's a solid guy, but he's not like A plus or anything like that. He's not on the level of a Marcos Maidana, Canelo Alvarez. He's not even on the level of a Roberto Guerrero. Andre Berto was a step down in competition in every sense of the word. Pacquiao, I thought Floyd lost that fight 8-4, 7-5. The judges gave it to him. You know, it is what it is. Victor Ortiz, that fight he actually sucker punched him. So I mean, you know, there's not really much we can say about that fight. Shane Mosley, he fought Shane Mosley when Shane Mosley was old, out of his prime. Marquez was a lightweight, I believe. He wasn't even a. He used to fight at junior welterweight. His main like featherweight, you know, he's a featherweight. He's not a welterweight. He's not a light welterweight. He's not a 147 pounder. Floyd fought him coming up from lightweight. So he was a small guy. And Floyd should have fought Casamayor actually. I would love to see that fight. But yeah, you know, breaking everything down and then he fights Connor. Connor's not even a boxer, he's an MMA fighter. So, you know, Floyd's career, it's all wins, no losses, but there's a lot of asterisks next to those wins. You know, Connor, how can you really call that a win though? You can't, exactly. Connor's not a tough opponent. He's not even close to any of these guys on the list. Ricky Hatton. I mean, Ricky Hatton, okay, but he lost to Pacquiao. You're beating Pacquiao's leftovers. So I mean, outside of those guys, I mean, there's really nobody else. Castillo, he lost the first fight. You know, on most people's scorecards. Yeah, that's all. That's all. The only thing I can say about Floyd. Floyd may have been the biggest bitch in the sport of boxing because he didn't fight the guys that we wanted him to fight. He should have fought. What's his name? That guy. Paul Williams. We wanted to see that fight, but it didn't happen. We wanted to see him fight Margarito. That didn't happen. But Margarito was a cheater. I mean, yes, but you know, he was a cheater for the Cotto fight. But yeah, I mean, he was a cheater. But I mean, he was a cheater. Yes. I mean, he's a fucking cheater. So okay, fine. Take out Margarito. Why didn't he fight Mosley before when he wasn't out of his prime? He should have fought him in his prime, and he should have fought Pacquiao in his prime too. Pacquiao was old when he fought him. You know, Maidana was a good was in his prime, I believe. Canelo was pretty young, pretty green. You know, drained also 2 pounds. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, man. Tell me.